Okay, let's see if you are now working. Let's take you out of the way. It's always helpful. Let's put you into there and you into there to charge. And then with a bit of luck, let's see where we're up to. So we should be live if we are working and connecting. Hopefully will appear on screen. Let's go home. Excellent. That looks like I might well have gone live. Excuse me while I just sort out the technology, which is not my favourite activity. Right, so phone is misbehaving. I apologise. I'm just going to swap the camera angle round so that at least it might be a narrow view, but you should at least then have the same view that I have with a bit of luck, because it's decided it's not going to change for me, though it has for the last couple of days. If anyone else can let me... So I've got 4 people online, so that's always good. It's nice to see you. Hi Piggy Sue, thank you for letting me know you're here. I think it's Agnieszka who's here as well, so thanking you. And Patricia, so very good. So I thought I had my camera sorted out so I could see what was going on and I could get it to go landscape. And I've gone live today and it's decided it's going to misbehave. So why doesn't that surprise me? I think it probably just relates to things being difficult, doesn't it? Could someone just let me know that they can hear me? That would be much appreciated. Otherwise it'll all be silent and that's not very good. Hopefully you can hear me. I'll wait and see. Hi Veronica, thank you for joining me. Hi Sam, thank you for joining me. And Anya, thank you also very much for joining me. I'm assuming you can hear me. I can't see anything that says that you can't. So I am going to make a mini album today, so that we can use the Voyages Fantastique papers, which are quite an old brand paper collection from Stamperia, but one that I love. And we're going to be using card bases to form all of the pages in a concertina type effect for the inside of it. I've done some prep, but not prepped everything to within an inch of its life, because I think that sort of is part of doing lives. And my cards are 6 inches square, and I have and I've cut a piece of paper that is just a little bit bigger, a bound board that is 16.5 centimetres, and a piece of paper that is bigger than that, giving me a centimetre border all round. Agnieszka, I know that it needs to be in landscape before I put it in, and I did have it in landscape when I went in, and it's decided that it wouldn't swap, so I don't know what it's done. The other day when I practiced, it worked perfectly well. So back to the drawing board it clearly needs to be, but hey ho, such is life. I will endeavour to try and make sure that you are all on screen, because that's all that you can do, isn't it? Otherwise we might be here for a while with me feeling distinctly seasick as I faff around with the phone trying to get it into a good place, and seasick is not a great place to be. So I've taken a piece of mount board that is slightly bigger than my envelopes and cut a piece of the Stamperia paper to size, and I'm just going to literally bob that onto there, sort of squarish. Does help if you can line things up smoothly, but there you are. And then I'm going to cut off the corners, leaving a little gap here because that makes it easier for folding in and gives you a nicer finish. So there we are. And I've just remembered what I haven't cut, but that's not going to be a big problem. Okay, so there we are. So I hope everyone is well and that they're looking forward to having a good weekend. It's always helpful, isn't it, I think, to have a nice bank holiday weekend, and hopefully with the easing of restrictions people can go off and do their own thing. So I'm just using some mixed media glue for this. I find that I have more control when I do this than I do if I try using sticky tape, but of course each to their own. It would work perfectly well with sticky tape, I guess. I've done 2 opposite corners. I'm going to turn it round 90 degrees and just do the other 2 sides. And this way I've got some nice mitered corners, so that's neat and tidy. There we are. I'll pop that round. Past experience tells me I need to clear up the glue, otherwise I find that then I'm stuck on the back of things, and that's also not a great thing, to have the front of your pages marked with glue. And all I've done is literally roll them over and burnished it down in place. So that's one piece done, and as I know what I'm intending doing, I can then carry on and add some decorations to this piece. So in the 12 by 12 pack of papers there's a beautiful square cutout piece, and all I'm going to do is ink round the edges of this. I don't really like white edges, and I think actually most crafters don't. I'm just using an archival ink because it gives me flexibility to do what I want with it. I've decanted some glue into a nice fine dispenser because for me that means I don't waste it, and it's as simple as that. So that can go reasonably central on there. Is that okay? And from that point of view, and I'm going to edge the side of there as well. This is going to be the front of my album at the end of the day. So I now have a piece of chipboard. These are reasonably easy to find. I like some of the very delicate ones. There are several sources of them if you go hunting the net, and I'm not going to say which brand it comes from because I'm not too sure that we're allowed to, but people who follow me regularly will know the brands that I actually like to go to. And this is one of the reasons why I've also popped this into a nice little fine dispenser, because it means on all of these fiddly bits I can pop bits of glue without it too much splurging over everywhere else. And that piece is just going to go centrally on the front of there. And then I've got some extra pieces. Now I've got some of these are cut from the 12 by 12 paper pad, and some of them are from the Stamperia collectibles paper, so these small pieces come out of that collection. And I have to say that I have actually mixed pieces from across the 12 by 12, the 8 and the collectibles papers for making this piece. So but I'm sure with a selective cutting you could manage to do it without actually having to buy all of the different sizes of paper. I just find that actually I get a nicer result because I get images that are of different size, proportionate sizes, and that for me creates a cohesive and a more interesting look to my piece. So I worked out ahead of time that I wanted to pop the little world map there, and I know I'm covering up lots of my pieces, but that's what I'm wanting to do. It gives me a reasonable look. So I'm going to pop these sort of around there. I'm going to give them a little bit of a fiddle, but to get them ideally in place. So there we are. We'll just pop a little bit of glue there, and that piece can go tucked over there. I know, let's get it straight, that always helps, that I'm going to pop this piece over here and that piece there. So that sort of works for me, and I want another piece, that one underneath there, just to edge it. So that just helps me align what I want where I want it. It's entirely up to you how you put things together, and I know that means I'm covering lots of my chipboard up, but again, I just find that easier, and it gives me the look that I want to have overall. Of course, it is ultimately all a matter of personal taste. I'm going to put a couple of tags onto my cover, so I'm just going to pop a little hole in the tag mark place for those, because again I think that that's quite a good activity to do. And I've got some shabby ribbons, which I have to say that I absolutely love. So I think these make my life much easier, and I just think that they work very well with this sort of aged antique-y thought process around things. And all I'm going to do is a little lark's head knot at this stage, so pop it through and knot it into place, and then wriggle it through, being careful not to pull it out of the card, because that's not very helpful. And I'm going to trim those ends at a little angle because I think that looks nicer, and we'll repeat that process, because if you've got one, you might as well have two, and actually it just looks better if you've got some form of cohesive element coming through everything. So does that make sense to everyone thus far? Obviously you can spend as much time as you want, you can add extra knots, you could use string, it's really, the choice is entirely up to you. And I want a little bit more of dimension here. I've got some offcuts of chipboard left over from other projects, so I'm just literally just going to take a piece of these, pop it onto the back. Like all true crafters, very little goes to waste in my for me. I just think if it's there and you might as well use it. You could just as easily, I think, use leftover cardboard packaging. That would work quite well as well, if that, depending on what you've got around to use. So this piece is going to go here. That one's going to go over the top, and I want a little piece of that poking through. So having sort of worked out where I'm going, and before I tuck that tag actually into place, I'm just going to pop that there. So this way I've got bits of all of my elements showing. That one is now down, and because I've got one thickness of chipboard there, I now need to have two on the back of this one, but not covering the whole of it, because otherwise it'll defeat the purpose. So there we are. So I need one piece there, and I could leave it at that and just glue this piece straight on then to there. There we are, pop it on the correct side. There we are. Having said you need to make sure that you get it on the right side, we promptly put it on the wrong side. Well, there you go, that's life, isn't it? That can go there. And if you want an extra bit of depth, we can then put another piece there, back onto there, to lift that up, and just one on the other side, because then that will allow me to fit it into place nicely. Sorry about the ers then. It's not a good and doesn't make for comfortable listening, for which I can only apologise. There we are. So that piece can go into there like that, and that means that that card is now supported and stable, and I have an additional little chipboard word that I'm going to pop onto there. Now I'm going to leave mine clear. I happen to know that actually over time these beer mat cut die cut pieces actually tend to age and go yellow on their own, so it doesn't bother me at the moment that that it is completely white. So that completes our front cover for the moment. You could of course then go and adding lots of other things to it. Just bear with me because my computer has decided to switch off and I can't see any comments. So let me just refresh that page. There we are. So there is the front cover, and we're now going to repeat the covering for the back piece. So there we are. There's a piece of mount board, which we're just going to cover with the mixed media glue, because that again, it just works. It's just helpful. It comes in a reasonable amount. It means I can cover the whole surface reasonably quickly and efficiently, and actually I find you're less likely to get wrinkling of your papers if you do that. My preference is to use a wet glue, but then to make sure I've mopped up the whole time with whatever I've done. Good afternoon, Joe. I hope you're well. I can't think why I decided to pluck up enough courage to do this, but hey ho. Onwards and upwards, and the more you do, hopefully the easier it will get, because actually most things that you do with practice will improve and hopefully have me less jittery. I'm not overly confident when it comes to any form of technology. That never helps me in the slightest. So there we are. So we'll just pop that down. I'm going to turn it around, and I always work in opposite corners. I just find that that gives me a nicer result than working around in a square. But I think we'll all get into habits of things that work for us. I'm going to squash those little corner pieces down and roll that over the edge and then push it down. There we are. And the mixed media glue really does grab pretty quickly. And that'll be pot number 5 or 6 that I've gone through over the last year. About to finish. There we are. So, okay, so that's that one, and I am going to, let's orientate that piece so it's round the right way. Even though most of that is now going to be covered, I will know if it's not round the right way, and I'm sure that actually I'm probably not alone in the crafters of feeling that every layer has to be perfect. And again, I'm just back to inking my edges, taking my time, and it's the little extras I find actually make something look like a completed piece. So there we are. And this one, because it's the back cover, I am literally just going to put on flat, because actually if you've got them stacked on a shelf, it helps if you've got one flat surface. If you're lying them down, a flat surface definitely does make life easier. And this is just a piece from the paper pad that's nicely collaged, so I haven't had to do anything too clever or too fancy to that. Before I forget, I'm now going to pop onto my front cover, on the back of it, a piece of ribbon that I'm going to use as my closure. And for me, because I'm a numpty, I've put it the way I want it, flip it over, and then I know that I want a long edge on one side, an even longer one on the other, that will then wrap around the journal at the end of the day. And for this I am going to use some good old-fashioned strong double-sided tape, and I'm going to sort of eyeball that, because by the time it's tied in a knot it won't actually matter if it's not exactly in the middle, and my OCD will allow me to do that, which is always a positive thing, I think. Right, but I know that if I don't put this on now, I will promptly forget. So front cover done, back cover ready. Those will go together back to back, and I've got a length for tying. So the next bit is to put the album together with some flips and some flaps along the way. And for that I've just taken a collection of 6x6 cards. I'm using these because they're cheap and cheerful, and the score lines hopefully are perfect, which is always an added bonus. So for my first one, this piece will go on the cover, and I'm going to write on that front cover, because if I don't, I then end up in a mess. So I know that that's my front cover, and I'm going to create a concertina effect across it. So for my next one, I'm going to take my 6x6 and I am going to add glue around 3 sides of it, because that gives me a pocket along with my page. And I'm just going to line this up, and as I'm lining it up I'm taking care to make sure I can still fold that piece in. Now life would be far too simple if we left that as a single page, and I'm going to add another layer to create a flap. Now you could do that in a number of ways. I'm sort of a lazy crafter. I don't particularly like that brown on the back, so actually I'm going to pop that onto the back of there, and that gives me a nice nice brown colour coordinated surface. And this one doesn't matter because it's the front cover, so we're going to repeat that process, and thereby I have actually managed to create myself 2 pockets. And this is about careful thinking about what you're doing, where you're putting stuff, and then just aligning things neatly. So I'm making sure when I do this that I've got it up to but not across the line, and then when I fold over I've got a flap that comes in. So I've now got a flip and a flap, and that's going to be the inside. So if we move over, this will come like that. That page is going to come down here. Okay, and I'd quite like something interesting on this page, and so for this one I'm actually going to cut a piece off my next, instead of dropping her paper cutter, I'm going to cut a piece off my card, and as my cards are 15 centimetres, I'm cutting off a 7.5 centimetre strip, and then going to pop that out of the way, and I'm going to create myself another pocket by just popping the glue. She says, don't do what I do, make sure you get it aligned around the right way. So the glue, she said, having put it on the right side in the first place, is going to go along the edges, and I've just created myself another pocket here, and I'm just going to flip it over and make sure that we're reasonably aligned top and bottom. The advantage of wet glue is it gives you a little bit of wriggle room, unlike tape. Here we are. So that gives me that. So that will fold that way, that way, that way. Okay. So there we are. We've got some pages. We can have a plain page here that opens up in our book. So we'll take another card, and this time if you want a pocket at the other end to open out, then all I'm doing is taking my card and working out where I want to put my glue. So here, as I want a pocket open at this side, all I'm doing is taking my glue, popping it round, and I'm hoping that what this is showing you is that you can take a basic everyday craft staple, cards, and actually then create yourself an album without having to do lots of tricky measuring. Yes, it's a concertina style, but you've got lots of flaps, lots of pockets, which makes it very easy. And we can stop at this stage, or we can carry on adding more. If I stop here, I would have a cover here. She says, getting in a pickle with all her pieces, and a cover here, and I've got a page that opens, book that opens like this to give me a flap here and a pocket if I want it, but definitely a pocket elsewhere. A pocket here, a page that opens, and another pocket here, another page that goes onto the back here. So you can see, but bit by bit by bit, actually what happens is you manage to create yourself lots of different, interactive pages. I'm just going to flip that one around because I've realised I've covered my pockets, which isn't very clever, but there you are. So that creates a base. And as I say, we can add more or less depending on what you're wanting to do, how many photographs you want to put in place. It's really entirely up to you. That one has moved. Let me just reposition that in a minute. I'll take that off. And in fact, we're just going to make our life much easier, because who wants to be an idiot and make life difficult? I'm just going to trim a little piece off that, and I'm going to tuck it into the pocket to give me the flap the way I want it. And that's going to be easier if I just take these pieces off at the side, and that way I can pop it in into here or onto the back of there quite neatly, and it will flap down. So there we are, and instead of having a pocket there, I've now got a flap, but I can live with that. Okay, so flap, pocket, open page. This one over here will be the back cover on this one, and then if I turn it over, it will then tell me what needs covering. So I've got my front cover, two horrible coloured pieces from the backs of the cards, and another piece, and that just leaves me to actually adhere in place over this little lot another card, and I can do that creating pockets. So I'm going to pop glue down there, glue down there, glue up there, both sides of the spine, and pop that lined up there, lined up with those edges, and just giving it a really good push down, and that needs to set for that glue to dry, and that becomes a convenient place to think about popping it into its album covers. So that is my front album of the album. I've put this around the correct way. Hi ladies, and that fits in there, covering up everything, and my workings there. So we'll glue this up. My computer is misbehaving, it's gone off to sleep, so I'm having to rely on what I can see on my phone for comments. So if you leave comments, if I don't answer them for you, now because I don't see them, then please, I will go back through all of the comments and we'll pick up any questions afterwards. Hopefully that will help everyone. And now all I need to do is put the back cover on to here, which makes my life very much easier. And the key for here is to get the two sides up the correct way and orientated, because my back cover is sided and all I'm doing is lining them up. So I now have created a really easy interactive mini album, and as I say, you could add as many pages as you want, because the way that the ribbon is, it actually will open up and accommodate it, going much wider if that's what you choose to do. So there we are. And of course, having done that, we need to think about filling our album up and what are we going to do and put on them. So we have an inside front cover, which I am going to then add some extra pieces to, because I think that we just need to make things as interesting as possible. So I've got a whole collection of bits and pieces here, all prepared to try and make life easy. You could, before you adhere it in place, go around all of those edges with brown ink. The choice is yours. So I now have a piece cut from the 12 by 12 and my brown ink that I'm going to tuck onto my inside front cover, because why not? It's all about having fun, isn't it? And about making things the way that makes you feel happy and good. If it's causing you stress, it's probably not the right thing for you to be doing. Life should definitely be about enjoying ourselves. So now I have that there. Now, as I said earlier, I'm sort of a lazy crafter. I like to use what I have already around me to make my life easier. This piece is cut from a 5 by 5 envelope. All I've done is seal the envelope and then chopped it in half, and that will give me a pocket. As it stands at the moment, it's all a bit boring and not very interesting, and somewhere around in this car crash I have some cut and dry foam, or I did have some cut and dry foam, so that I could add some inking to it. And of course, now can I find it? Just bear with while I grab. It's 2 seconds away, which is always helpful. There we are. There. So all I've done now is take a stencil, and I'm going to centralise that on the bottom of there and just ink through with some of my archival ink. And I'm deliberately choosing to use archival ink, because actually it just means that it's not going to rub off on people's hands long terms, and conveniently I can fit round the world tour onto there, and I've got a little bit of inking onto there. I don't need lots. I am going to edge this one because for me it adds to it, but there we are. And I have a circle clock, bit of both cut from the papers that I'm going to tuck onto the front of there. You could add glossy accents if you choose to. Get it round the right way. There's number 12, so that's going to pop in the centre of there for me. Cut from the collectibles pack is the words Voyages Fantastique, but again, you could choose whichever words seem to work for you. There is no rule, there is no hard and fast for any of this, and that's going to go across there. And I have some little dies and some little flowers, but I tend to put all of my added and extras on at the end. And I've got some tags that I've cut out already and popped some little string through. I do think that if you add lots of my beautiful shabby ribbons all the way through, then actually the whole thing becomes really quite bulky. If that's the look you want, then that's absolutely fine. You know, by all means go for it. It's about what's right for you at the end of the day. Far be it for anyone to tell you what you want to do. So I'm going to pop that over there out of the way. We've got some extra bits because it's easier to have more than you actually need. There we are. And we'll pop that there. So this one is going to go onto here in the centre, making myself a little pocket using the envelope. I'm a great fan of using envelopes, as you've probably worked out, and anyone who saw the Stamperia Live the other week will have known that I made a whole album using actually the envelopes from the 6x6, which is why I then had a lot of 6x6 pieces left lurking around, cards lurking around that needed using up. So I thought, why not use them for the album? Okay, so now we have this piece which is going to flap up and down. So we've got 3 pieces here to cover. So let me see what I have in my box of tricks to cover everything else up with. So there we are, all prepped again within ½ an inch of its life. So let's take that and take that. Okay. So now I've got another card here to add another interactive element to. Ultimately, it's entirely up to you what you want to do and how you want to do it. And this is another chance actually to create another flap or another pocket. And pockets are really very useful for adding photo mats to, because you can usually get 2 or 3 into any one piece, and that makes life much easier. And all I've done is taken 7.5 centimetres off that card. So now I have a piece of paper, that's its reverse side. The Voyages Fantastique comes with a pack that's got 22 pages in it, as well as the standard 10 pages from Stamperia. And the two, although some of the pages are the same, or the feature pages, actually the backs of them are different, and so it gives you lots more plainer papers for matting and layering with than you might have if you didn't go for the bigger pad. And if I don't know if you're like me, actually 10 pages isn't enough for me to make most albums. I tend to use far more than that. This piece is actually cut from the cover of one of the paper pads. I think it was probably the 22 page, but it could just as easily have been the 10 page one. And that's going to pop over there. There we are. And then we will pop another piece onto here. And for me, you know, a lot of my makes will be about, particularly like this, will be about making pages interactive, encouraging people to open things up, to have a look and to see what's going on. And that can go onto there. I think that might look better matted onto a piece of card, so I'm just going to pop this in. It'll also make it more robust, which is always a good idea, I think. So that can go onto there, and then I will trim that down because it makes life easier. And my cutting with a pair of scissors is notoriously wonky. And I guess that I have no idea how wide this gap is that I'm cutting. I just know that that's how I line it up on my paper cutter. It's probably about 1/2 centimetre, 1/4 of a centimetre, maybe 1/2 centimetre. But as long as you're familiar with your own your own paper trimmer, actually you'll get a result that's even throughout for the whole of your project. And that piece can then go onto there. Clear that. And I only want that on half of it, so let me use the brain. It would be good if I thought about it and used my brain, wouldn't it? There we are. So that piece can then go onto there, and I have an interactive page that's here. And I'm now going to add some extra embellishments to this. These are cut from the paper collection, so it's entirely up to you what you add, but I think it's possibly quite nice to add a little timepiece and a little tag into that corner. So that's what we're going to do at this page. What I ultimately did was spend a little bit of time just cutting out lots of the elements from the papers. The joy of this paper collection is, of course, that you have everything with lots of different elements in lots of different sizes, and that you can, you know, cut out everything, so not a scrap needs to go to waste. And then we have our top flap made like that. And that can go up there. So let's just make sure that is properly dry. And then at this point, we might add a little bit of stamping. So if I clear my clutter, which I now have an inordinate amount all over the place, I have a mat. In fact, I have 2 mats, 1 and 2, and I have some card. Now my album is, my card bases are 15 centimetres, so my fat mats, my patterned paper mats are 14.5 centimetres squared, and my card is 14 centimetres squared. So I'm just taking off a little bit off each side, and I've got a set of stamps that sort of works for me with the theme. I've got a compass, clocks and things, so I'm actually going to pick this one and just add a little bit of detail down each side of my, or 2 sides of my mats, and repeat the process. So there we are. It doesn't have to be nice, accurate, even stamping. And one of the things I've seen on some of the Facebook feeds is that these stamps by Antonis actually don't have any cling mount on them, which I think it is a bit unusual, but he's designed them deliberately so that you don't have to have a whole image, and you can pop things where you want them. So they're designed as true mixed media stamps rather than as ones to put on a block. You can spray them with repositionable glue and pop them on a mat, onto a mount if you want to, but there are plenty of other stamps that will do that. So we will, when I've retrieved that, we'll just do the same again. I'm sorry if this is all a bit, you know, things are repetitive, but that is just actually what you need to do. There we are. And as I say, I'm not going, fortunately, for complete stamping. I want it to have a slightly more distressed effect, and that's where these stamps really do come in to their own, and it allows you to have a little bit of interest, particularly when the albums are empty. But there we are. So let's pop that back out the way. But hopefully at the end of this you'll have seen there are a number of different ways of going about adding interest, adding detail, adding pages to it. And each page can be coordinated because it's from the same papers, but also has a cohesive feel. So for all of the all photo mounts, I would you choose to use the white stamping card and just some of this distress edging. You could add some splats if you wanted to at any stage. I'm not going to now, because actually I know full well I will cover my entire desk with them, and there's an awful lot of stuff then that will need cleaning up, so I'm not going to, but splats would look good. So this is going to go on the back piece from here. Okay, there we are. So is everyone following along quite happily? Can you understand, or have I made myself clear as to the way I'm thinking and what's going on in making my album at this point? As I say, it's a little bit of a challenge to make an album in an hour from scratch, so I would often add a lot more pages if I was doing this on my own at home without a time frame. But ultimately, how many you add is entirely up to you. How many interactive areas you add, again, is entirely your decision, your choice. Because for me, one of the joys of doing things like this is being able to customise your makes so that you've got stuff that you like. Now, in the paper collection, or in the collectibles pad, are some words, so we might add an extra word down there. I will add it as a little pocket. It just gives me flexibility to use it how I want to long term, so that's going to go into there, and then I can add maybe another tag into there. Obviously you can add string, but you all know how to do that, so that can then sit into there. And for cohesion, I'm going to add a clock and a coordinating tag down at the bottom. And this is what I mean by the different size papers end up with the same image but different sizes, and it allows you to link things in a way that then appears to be appropriate for what you're doing, rather than always having to work on with the same size piece. I rather like clocks. It will irritate me if I don't have the numbers up the right way, even though it's cut with a bit wonky edge, but there we are. There we are. So that is that page with its interactive elements completed. Let's clear some of this gubbins, and so we can now turn our page. And I'm going to, there we are, so we can pop that down. Now here we have clearly got a pocket, and I've glued this shut, which is fine, but we need to think about how we're going to mat and layer these. Now I know that this piece is 7.5 centimetres, so I'm going to cut this at 7 centimetres. So I've got the same border. Yeah. I'm going to ink that smaller piece because it will be slightly smaller. And this piece, see, double-sided papers, it's impossible, isn't it, for us then to have to choose which piece we want, where we're going, how we're going to use them. 2 paper pads obviously is the solution, even if it is a little bit expensive. And my remaining piece hopefully will then tuck in so it looks like it's still one cohesive piece of paper. Let's hope that didn't have too much glue splurging when I did the other side. There we are. And hopefully that will then just stick under there. And then I can even it up so that the words actually align reasonably well. There we are. So I now have that piece there, and I've got some more tags, so I can use some more shabby ribbon Well, I would if I'd, there we are, that's where my scissors are. So I'll pop some of these into here. There we are. Is everyone happy? Is everyone understanding what's going on? Has anyone got any questions? Not that I might not see them because my computer has decided to go to sleep, so I actually can't see, apart from one I can see popping up on my phone, which is, you know, it's a way, it adds to the fun of life, doesn't it? There we are. So there we are. So that can then tuck into there, and I've picked a page that's got balloons on it, so I'm picking tags that coordinate with that, because again for me it makes it look more more cohesive, more put together, more finished. We each have our own ways of working, I think, don't we? So I think, yeah, we do what we have to do. We work out things the way we want to. So that's another tag for in there. So we don't want too much poking its head out. I actually made a little book from one of the fussy cut pieces, and I've matted and layered another tag onto that, and there will be another one somewhere in amongst this pickle, so that one can also go into there. So we've got flying machines, we've got safety, strength, speed, we've got all sorts of additions, and there are lots of different die cuts that coordinate. So keeping in the lines with maybe travel, we've got a bike here, so for safety and speed I'm just going to pop the die cut onto there, and this time I'm going to make sure I don't put glue where I don't want it, because that would not be clever. So there we are. So that piece can go on there. Right, let's tidy up some of the mess, of which we have an inordinate amount. So we've got a page that opens up and has a pocket in it at this point. So let's see what we've got lurking over here. I think we will take some of the papers and add some extra elements. So let me see what they're up to. And we could keep this page relatively simple. Yeah, we can pop another page into there. So you don't need to have this one I've already inked. You don't have to have everything, of course, really interactive, much as I like interactivity. You can have things that actually quiet pages, restful for your eyes. So we're going to add a little bit more stamping to the edges of this. So we've got a quiet page, and it also, I think, by putting some quieter pages in, allows people to realise that actually maybe I could put a photograph here if that's what I want to do. So more inking, a little bit there, more ink around the edges. There we are. So back to the album, because that makes life easy. There we are. There we are. And we will pick up another cog. And I'm doing this so that each page sort of relates to each other, rather than it just appearing that I've stuck things at random. So you'll have noticed that this is a format that I've used several times now. I've picked up, I've picked up tags and clocks and popped them into corners so that they sort of work together. There we are. That can go there. So, okay, so that's one side of that. We'll have a simple page. This page opens as an ordinary page would open. So let's have a little play and see what we've got lurking. So what have we got? We've got some pieces here. So, right, so I'm wanting to add another flat piece here. So what I've done is taken my card, my 6x6, and I know, because I've pre-thought this through, that I need to chop 2.5 centimetres off just one edge of that. There we are, that can go off there. There we are. So, she says, offloading a whole mountain of stuff onto the floor. So this piece, I've already got a pocket here, there, so I don't want to create another pocket. But each of these layers that you add in really makes your piece solid, because if you've got a book that's going to be handled lovingly in the future, what you don't want is something that's going to fall apart at the drop of a hat, because that's really not going to to look very good. So I've got a piece of paper to sit into here, so that one can go there with its travel theme. There we are. Obviously you can add more or less glue to suit yourself, because that's always a positive feature, isn't it, if you add the right amount of glue. So that piece will work into there quite happily. So I'll pop that into there. You can see that I actually thought quite a lot about the pages I was going to make, what I was going to put together and whatever. And now I know that I need another piece for the front of there that needs to be a little bit smaller than that. So bear with me. So I'm going to chop it there. That's 12 centimetres across. So I'm going to just chop this to a little bit smaller than 12 centimetres, and to give myself a border. There we are. And ink our edges. Why not? There we are. There we are. So that can line up in there. Now that looks altogether quite boring at the moment, but hey ho, we can all add to the fun of life. So what I've done is I've taken an A6 card and just chopped it down so it's 12.5 centimetres tall, and that will sit in here like that. Okay, so this piece is going to be glued down. Butting it up, centralising it, but allowing it to close like that. Okay. It would help if you had it up the right way, wouldn't it? There we are. I suppose a rounded map really doesn't really matter very much. There we are. Okay. So ladies, I hope you don't mind, but we're going to overrun a little bit, or maybe a lot, depending on which way you wish to look at things. I will completely understand if people want to go. We've got the back piece and 2 pages at the back, and I guess we all know how to make tags anyway, so that's less of a problem. So that's going to go there, that's going to go there. There we are. And this piece can go onto there. There we are. I hope that actually, having done this, that people will have now have enough courage to actually pick up their 12 by 12 pads and actually cut into them, because they're lovely to pick up and fondle and stroke and sniff if that's what what takes your fancy. But actually, by getting them out, making them into an album, having them on the side, then other people will actually get to enjoy them, because hopefully they will pick up the pieces, have a little look, and actually enjoy what you're doing. So I've got my other half of the envelope that I put on my front cover conveniently. So let's pop that into place here, and the lines will make it easy. I have a piece of card cut as a topper for that, so that can go onto there, leaving a little border onto there. And then we can add whatever we fancy. So we could add some extra words, we could add some cogs. I'm just going to add a little word sentiment, I think, because that to me is going to sit nicely onto there. There we are, so that can sit there. And then obviously I will photograph these finished, but I've got some more tags that I will punch out and add pieces to. So that then completes there. That's our back cover. Let's clear the mess, because we have stuff everywhere, because I'm like every other crafter. You start out with masses of room and you end up in a tiny area. So that then leaves us 2 back pages to decorate. And how you do that is up to you. We can add more of our photo mounts quite happily if we wanted to. We can add some more interactive pieces. So I want a pocket here in a different direction. So I've got a card, my 6x6. I've orientated this long ways. I've folded it in half, and now I'm going to pop it down like that. So I have papers cut to fit, because that again makes life easy. There we are. So this piece will sit neatly, she says, on the wonk. There we are, it's better, into there. This can go down. So all I'm doing really is using my cards as a way of constructing my album, making my life easy, rather than having to think about cutting lots of different flap sizes. I'm literally just using the cards as my base, and then just by folding them in different directions, I'm then able to get the flaps, the pockets and my piece, and to make sure that it really is very solid. So into here I have a piece from, just literally cut from one of the papers, nothing complex about it. Will tuck neatly into there. I've got some extra elements, again cut from the papers, and this is about using your papers as much as possible, really, just taking advantage of the fact that they're there and they've all been designed to coordinate together, and because they're designed to work together, actually no matter how you chop them up, the whole piece is going to work. There we are. So that piece is going to go onto there, and I've got a word taken from the collectibles there, and that's going to go into there. Comme ça. There we are. So she says, and because I've almost alternated my different pieces of round my through my album, so I've got one flip or flat page and then some pages for rest, I'm just going to pop another piece of paper as a mat onto here. I knew things had gone flying, but and that included my nice pieces of card. There we are, that's another one of those. So again, I'm just going to create another photo mat for here to go on top of there. There we are. So we'll just ink this up, pop it down the edge, pop it down the edge. And by following things through the album as you go, then you'll get a piece that works, or for me works. Whether it works for you is entirely, your decision. Because we all like things that are different, and we all see things that are slightly different. I loved watching Lou the other day with her doodling. It's not for me. I know someone will probably say anyone can do it, but I can assure you that my attempts at doodling always end up looking, well, interesting is probably the politest way of describing how they look. It's not my forte, but what I do like to do is rearrange paper, and if that's what gives you joy in your crafting, then that's a good thing. There we are, and this is the same cohesive effect. There we are. So we now have our completed album. Now, I would probably spend the next hour or so adding cogs. So I've got a whole collection of greyboard cogs that have been painted and coloured. I've got some other chipboard elements that I might add in with different words. I've got a whole mountain of extra die cut elements, so more clocks that are dimensional, cogs, tags and things, and I will then spend a good wee while just going through adding bits and pieces. I've also got some of these very natural burlap flowers, which I might well add in for an extra textural element, but without making my whole piece unduly feminine. So there is our album, and it will go around. So here is our front cover that we've created, and it opens to give you a page with pockets made with an envelope. We've got a flap that lifts, a flap here that opens to the side. I will almost certainly mat and layer another one of these pieces to go onto the back of there to finish that. A flap that opens, and I will make a tag to go in the top. I've then got a pocket page made just by cutting a piece off my card and folding it into place. plainer piece for a photo, another interactive page, and again these could all have photo mounts on them, up to your choice. And I would probably put some glossy accents onto there to add to it, or even, and possibly some metal cogs onto here, and our back page with tags that will get more ribbon popped into them, and almost certainly a chipboard die cut here. And then inside on the back we've got 2 more pages. So I hope that for a whistle-stop tour through how to make an interactive album from scratch using envelopes, that's been very useful for everyone. If anyone's got any comments, then please write them below. I'll wait a couple more minutes. Sorry if that's just made you feel distinctly seasick. And now you can probably see the mess that's in front of me. Yes, you absolutely can. So I hope you liked it. I will, I think, get better and do some more of them. It's all a bit nerve-wracking for me at the moment, but I've enjoyed what I've made and hope that you've enjoyed watching making it. I will complete it with all of my fussy add-on pieces and photograph it probably tomorrow rather than today, and then we'll all be able to see. And as I say, if you have any questions in the thread for this, I hope to pick them up, or when I post the completed piece, then please ask any questions there. So that's it for today. We have literally just gone over the hour, so I apologise, because I know there's another live at 7:30 this evening, and somewhere on the line people might actually want to get something to eat and have a drink. I may well treat myself to a gin and tonic this evening, and I shall sign off for now. Have a good day. Stay safe. Bye.